Is it Jimmy Butler or Yimmy Butler?
It is Jimmy.
It is Jimmy. Why do you call him Yimmy? Is that like is there the Spanish accent of the J?
I'm like my mom. Is that what my mom said? Jimmy.
Yes.
Yimmy. My mom.
Why do you call him Yimmy? Why?
I don't know where that came from, but I do call him Yimmy.
I think you're the only one.
And that's it. It's even better because he is him.
Well,
Yimmy.
He is not him, but he does want out of Miami. Monty is way higher on Jimmy Butler's basketball abilities than I am.
Yeah, you're not as definitely. You're not a hater. You're not a hater. You just don't think as highly of him as I do.
Yes. And if I did have hate, it would be warranted for what the Heat have done to the Bucks in the NBA playoffs at times. So
but I don't think
there would be a reason. There would be a reason for that. Jimmy Butler wants out of Miami. Mm-hmm. Made comments in the offseason that Pat Riley didn't necessarily like. Pat Riley shot back, and it seems like that was the fracture of the relationship between the two. I want to talk basketball, but I also think that there's a bigger thing at stake here. There's a bigger issue going on with Jimmy Butler. And it's something that I think everybody listening to the show can probably relate to at some point. And that's just right now not being happy at your job.
Yep.
But I think there's a basketball conversation to have. And this is what makes the conversation about Jimmy Butler and is what he's doing right or is what he's doing wrong. Let's hear from Jimmy Butler after last night's game and the comments that he made in his future or possibly lack thereof in Miami with the Heat.
Jimmy, how would you describe how you felt about your performance and focus tonight?
I felt great. I feel like I was focused. I feel like I did my job, or what at least my job is now.
When you say what your job is now, we're sort of not used to see you standing in the corner for extended periods like that. Is that a change in the team approach that has cast you that way? And for you to be your best version of yourself, can that be your role and you thrive to the best of your ability?
It can be my role here. But I mean, that's not what I'm used to being. I haven't been that since, I don't know, my first, second, third year in the league, where I just went out there and played defense. But I competed, I guarded, I try not to let my man score. But that's what I'm doing now.
Well, Coach was in here saying he wants to get you more on the point and get you more activated. So is that something that you're amenable to? And is that something that might be necessary to get you back closer to the top of your game and your form?
That ain't gonna fix it.
What will fix it? What do you want to see happen to fix it?
What do I want to see happen? I want to see me get my joy back from playing basketball. And wherever that may be, we'll find out here pretty soon. But I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court. But I want to be back to somewhat dominant. I want to hoop. And I want to help this team win. Right now, I'm not doing that.
Can you get your joy back here on the court?
Probably not.
Okay, so a lot there to unpack, but it really seemed to build up to the end. And if you're a sports fan, you heard the comments last night, and you just heard the whole set there. I think on the surface, Monty, and if I'm getting this wrong, please tell me, what is difficult for myself or what is difficult for a sports fan to see is here you have an NBA player. In NBA, I'll call him great for this argument. Okay,
yes.
Here's an NBA great who has led this team to the NBA Finals and on multiple occasions, and now is a part of a team. While in the playoff picture, they're tied for 5th right now in the East. He is not happy, and I think on the surface, when you see an NBA great, I immediately say, just one of today's players in the NBA, just never happy. They're winning, and he's not happy. He's greedy. He wants contract extension. They're not giving it to him. He's making what, $50 million. Blah blah blah. Another one. That's what I think. All of this reads on the surface. Is that fair?
I think that's fair. That's on the surface, but I think it goes a little deeper. Obviously, maybe there's been more behind closed door conversations that we don't know about, and it's been like a built up, I think, that we just don't know about. But on the surface, you are right. I just think there's maybe more to it. And imagine just getting this team as far as you possibly can without winning multiple times. Maybe he's starting to feel just like a little bit frustrated because the game for Jimmy Butler is changing. Jimmy Butler to me is a dying breed. The style of player he is, he's not a typical 3-point shooter. He's a defender. He typically plays both ways, defense and offense, but he's a mid-range shooter. And now you have to shoot a 3. And so, like, Part of me wants to believe that he's just kind of frustrated in his situation, but I don't know if he's going to find a home that is necessarily going to accommodate what he's looking for, just because the style of play right now in the NBA is very different than what he's used to. You know what I mean?
I also think that his personality and who he is makes the fit somewhere else a little more difficult than it would be for anybody else.
Right. And like his age, right? Like it's like, like he's in a way stuck in his style of play. And I just don't know how necessarily it would fit. His attitude, yes.
But it's also a guy who wants his own way and feels like he should have his way and have what he feels is coming to him because of what he's done for the organization and because of what he feels is his stature in the league. I find a trade partner difficult to find on where he would exactly fit in, not only with your explanation of the on-court limitations that you could have, but also I just think locker room and leadership limitations that you would see or possible roadblocks. If you're taking him to a contender, that contender likely already has a leader or some sort of leadership council or a group that they follow. How is Jimmy Butler going to fit into that sort of group?
Right. And like teams, I'm just using Clippers as an example, like let's say if the Clippers wanted to go for Jimmy Butler, we would have to really trade some valuable pieces because the Heat are not going to just let him walk away for nothing.
No.
So like it's not an ideal situation. It really isn't. And I don't know if it really is a money thing. I'm sure he can get a team that will take him, but I just don't know what the Heat are willing to give up or exchange for him. And it is going to be a tough trade if it happens. I don't see them just like releasing him or whatnot, but the rumor is that he wants more years.
Yeah, and I don't think that the Heat are going to trade him for nothing for multiple reasons.
Right.
They want something in return, and I also just think that they won't placate to what Jimmy Butler wants. And there's the whole principle of that. Jason Stewart's our executive producer. I know he has thoughts on this. When you hear Jimmy Butler say what he said, what was your response to what the NBA great was saying last night?
Yeah, I don't have any basketball takes here. I don't know much about basketball. I'm not going to pretend. But the way the comments come out. So from the beginning of the season, seemingly, we've been trying to figure out a reason why people are not watching the NBA like they used to. Like the interest level is down. You have current players, you have former players, you have analysts trying to narrow this down. And I think this is a great example. He seems to be, at least in the moment, trying to seek sympathy with the words, I'm trying to find my joy in my job, while at the same time making $50 million a year. I think that's a lack of self-awareness. You're not going to gain any sympathy from the people that pay your bills or you pay your checks. I think it's just one of the reasons. It's like the Patrick Ewing comment from 1999. We make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money. It's just a complete disconnect.
I always say mo money, mo problems, but that's just...
You don't say that.
It's another guy from 1996.
Yes.
You don't say that?
We actually have it in a cursive script writing above our dining room table. That's just it's on a wooden plaque, looks kind of farmhouse ranch style that says mo money, mo problems.
Sure. I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying, Jason, of like wanting the sympathy. I feel that if this has been a conversation that he has had, and we've seen the drama a little bit back and forth with Shams, the agent, then Pat Riley coming out and saying, we are not trading him. And I think he just kind of like was saying it himself. I get what you're saying where it's like you're an NBA player, you have this money, like, I get that. But I don't think he was doing it for sympathy. I think he was trying to tell everybody like, no, I've been asking for this, actually. And I maybe try to keep this between closed doors, but now I'm exposing it because I am unhappy. And I feel like, if anything, don't most of us wish we would handle the situations where we're unhappy just like Jimmy Butler?
That's the rub of all of this. I am not in lockstep with Monty because I feel that Jimmy Butler always has an angle. There is always an angle with Jimmy Butler, no matter what, whether it be with the Bulls when him and Dwayne Wade weren't happy with how teams were working out, whether it be with the Timberwolves, whether it be with the Sixers, now with the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler always has an angle. So there's a reason for all of this. But to what Jason was saying is people can't relate to the guy who's unhappy making $50 million a year. But I think people can relate to not being happy at their job and not necessarily knowing where to turn, or not being happy in a situation where you feel that you have given your best to your company or place of employment. And while they paid you at that time and took the team to heights that, as an 8 seed and multiple trips to the NBA Finals, as we've mentioned, it's not that Jimmy Butler feels that he was underpaid. I just feel that Jimmy Butler wants to feel like he is taken care of by the franchise. Whether his expectations are real or completely out of this world, I think that's how other people feel. You work on a project that you bust your hump for 2 months for your company, and it comes out and it's, gangbusters and wow, everybody loves it. It's great for the company. And then where are you? Where are you after that point? And I think that there are people that can relate to where Jimmy Butler is and saying, yeah, guess what? I gave my heart and soul for this company and have done so for the last so many years. All I'm looking for is my future to be taken care of. And now they're not there for me. I think it's a very real world situation when you take out the numbers that you're talking about. Because I was with you, Jason. I thought they're winning. He seems like another spoiled athlete. And then I'm like, this just seems like a guy who maybe was frustrated at work, said something, ownership didn't like it, and then all of a sudden the fracture began, and it's just gotten wider and wider and wider. And I think people can relate to that of him saying like, yeah, I'm happy here in Miami. I'm just not happy in this building. I think that is a common place for people in this world.
Absolutely. And for him, like you just said, I don't think you literally, you're like, I'll say great for the sake of the conversation, but I don't know if he has ever really like gotten his flowers aside from Heat fans and maybe people like a few NBA fans, because he did take an 8th seed all the way to the finals. He did take the Miami Heat on his shoulders. We'll never forget that image of him, remember over the rail at the bubble because he's all exhausted from the game, like that image. You'll never forget that. And then you mentioned how he has ulterior motives, maybe mentioning other teams. The Sixers didn't want him. Remember? Tobias Harris over me?
Sure.
Tobias Harris over me? So it's like, I think you are right that maybe he does want to feel appreciated by this franchise that he has done so much for. But maybe there's just more, I wonder if it is really just about money, because I don't think it's a championship. You know how we talk about certain players and we're like, they just want to go get a championship. I don't know if that's Jimmy.
I don't think it is either.
Yeah.
I actually think that he's overappreciated.
You think he's overappreciated?
Yeah, because we rip on guys who don't win titles, yet we think Jimmy Butler is amazing because he took his team to 2 finals.
But Jimmy Butler doesn't have like the individual accolades that come with players who you expect to do that. Like he's not an MVP, and what, he's a 6-time All-Star in how many years? Like I feel like he's not actually appreciated for what he's done.
We don't know if he's an actual great.
Now you're losing your voice.
Well, no,
see what I'm doing here?
That was just a little post-holidays phlegm. Sorry for your radio. Trying to sound like Dudley Moore. Wasn't that the Friends joke?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said Demi Moore, not Dudley Moore.
If we're debating on if we can even use NBA great when it comes to Jimmy Butler's status, I think that we're putting him into a group that we're trying to lift him up. So I think that shows that he is appreciated on this level. He just doesn't feel that same appreciation within the Miami Heat. And then the point that was made by, Charles Barkley last night on Inside the NBA and others of the Miami Heat didn't pay Dwayne Wade.
Right.
So why would they feel some sort of obligation to Jimmy Butler to overpay him and keep this thing running? So